Hello and welcome to the I Can Do podcast with Benjamin Lee. We're here to talk about tips and strategies to have an I Can Do mindset. Life is what you put into it. Get the most you can. Here's your host, Benjamin Lee.
Well, hello there. It is great to be here today. Today is day 6 of 300. Wherever you may be in the world, thank you so much for listening. My Ultraspeaking project, 300 days, impromptu speaking, on the fly podcasting to improve my speaking skills, to inspire others, to see what this will unlock for me and even maybe for you, and to rise to the occasion and to see if I can do even something more challenging when it comes to public speaking. So if you've been keeping up the last 5 days, you know how this is going to work. 7-minute talk. I'm going to go to the timer and I'm going to turn the timer on here and I'm going to get my topic and we're going to dive into this episode right now. Hello and welcome to a new episode of I Can Do. Today's topic, how would your friends describe you? That's a great question. This is an interesting one. First, let me just say that I'm thankful that I do have friends. The Bible actually talks about friends that are close to one another, that stick close to one another, that are willing to even correct one another, particularly in the book of Proverbs. How would my friends describe me? They would describe me as being consistent. I believe that I'm consistent. As I think about friendships that I've had, I believe that I have been consistent in those friendships, in responsibilities. Not to say that I've never messed up before, that I've never let people down either, but I believe one of the ways that my friends would describe me would be consistent. That's something that I take very seriously in my life. There's certainly room for me to grow, and yet I'm thankful that I have friends, that I have friendships that have lasted throughout the years, and that is a result of me being consistent. If you were to interview one of my friends, I think they would also say that overall, I'm a pretty happy guy. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of times where I have had my moods. The last episode we talked about when was the last time that I yelled. But I think they would also say that overall, I'm a pretty happy guy. I can think back to moments in my life where when I find myself in a situation where maybe I'm not as, what's the term, present or excited or passionate. Sometimes they may ask me, hey, is everything okay? What's going on? Because 9 out of 10 times I'm in a pretty good place. I feel like I'm happy overall. Friendship is interesting. As I think more about this subject, I'm actually not connecting as much maybe as I thought I would. Now I'm thinking about why is that the case? There is something that I have seen and learned in my life, or at least I've been thinking more about this for a long time now, that I don't have a lot of close friends. I like using the example of Jesus because there were thousands of people who followed him. But then he had the disciples, then he had the 12, but then he had an inner circle. Peter, James, John, and Andrew was a part of that as well. So it doesn't matter if we have a quote unquote lot of friends, but it does matter that we do have friends that are close to us. Maybe that's why I'm struggling a little bit with this. I think sometimes maybe a little bit too broadly. I'm also thinking that, sometimes friends don't always, share or describe who you are. So sometimes you kind of have to assume a little bit. But what I will say is this, the people that are closest to me, as I think about this even more, I know that there's a great sense of appreciation. There's an appreciation of the work that I do. There's a appreciation of the time and effort that I put into for other people. and for myself and for them as well. So I'm thankful that I have friends who have shared those thoughts with me before, who have written cards to me, who have reminded me of the great qualities that I have in myself. And I think that's something that's important even as we think more about friends, that friends are going to give praise to one another, that friends are going to not just encourage and correct when necessary, but also just say, hey, I see what you're doing. You're doing a great job. Keep up the great work. And I'm thankful that I do have individuals in my life who are like that, because there's a lot of people today who don't have a lot of friends. I can remember going back to middle school, high school, and I guess even college. I had some really close friends at that time that I have no idea how they would describe me today, because we don't talk. And I guess that friendship is not there anymore. Friendship is so interesting. It's hard sometimes to pinpoint, because relationships change, people change, our lives change, responsibilities change. But I do feel pretty good with how my friends, if they were to join me on this podcast, what they would say. Not that that means that I don't have any, traits that I need to improve upon or anything like that, but I think they know me well enough to know who I really am. Whether it's Tanya or Brandon, um, or Luke or Tony, um, guys in Columbia, Missouri, guys in Beaumont, my family, obviously my wife, Nikki. I think if they were on this podcast, I think there would be some harmony with what would be said. This may be the hardest podcast so far with this challenge, because I don't know if I really think about how my friends might describe me. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But you know what? I think this is revealing something that I need to take some time to do. And that is, I need to take some time to really go back and connect maybe with some of my friends to get some feedback. I can think of other people in my life, friends in my life that I have not mentioned, that, they have shared some great things and qualities. And I think it's time for me to go back and do that again. I also think it may be time for me to share what I think about them and encourage them and lift them up and remind them how they are honorable in so many ways. Friends are so important. And I think this discussion here this morning or this afternoon as I'm recording this is reminding me about the importance of friends. Whether it was King David and Jonathan, whether it was other individuals, it is so important to have friends who will not just correct you, but also friends that will commend you and that will help you to remember exactly who you are and why they love you. Thank you. Okay, we have wrapped up day 6 of 7. That was a challenging one. Tomorrow is day 7. It begins a new week. And so tomorrow I'm going to bump it up to 8 minutes. Each week we will continue to increase 1 minute at a time. I can do, so can you. Challenge yourself and maybe spend some time with your friends, text them, and let them know that you love them and tell them why you do. Take care. God bless. I can do, so can you.